Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here. All right, it's early in the morning. It's not even 7 a.m. Sun's coming up behind me. And so I posted something on Instagram today that I thought needed a little explanation. It was an example of an investment scenario where if two people have $1,000 and one of them invests the $1,000 and makes $350, then they have $1,350. And the other person takes a vacation and has a experience of a lifetime, spends $650, then they only have $350 left. And somehow the meme suggested that the person who had $1,300 was the more responsible, that they had the right strategy. And that may be true, but the reality is $1,300 versus $1,000 isn't really going to change your life. And so the theme of today's post is living without regret. I think that's the number one thing that people need to focus on. So I have friends that are in what's called the red zone. They're in their 70s, and they have saved a lot of money and they're doing great. They can, they have enough money to do whatever they want to in retirement, but they're in their 70s. Their health isn't that great. And unfortunately, they didn't really spend a lot of time in their 20s and 30s and 40s and even 50s really enjoying all that money. And so part of me wants to say, I don't think you should blow every dime you make. I think you need to save and invest, and I think you need to be responsible. But for God's sake, enjoy yourself. The thing that I think I would have done differently if I had the opportunity is everybody asks, well, what would you have done differently? I'm 20. What would you have done? You know what? I spent my entire 20s working. I know Gary Vaynerchuk has the same thing that he keeps talking about, how, he went home every weekend and worked. I worked for my father's company for close to 7 years, and I did that from the time I was a senior in high school until I went off to graduate school. So I spent majority of my 20s, working. I was working 40 to 60 hours a week, and I was working hard, making money, and I put in my time. And when I started my company, I was working another 40 hours or more, 60 hours a week on the company, another 40 hours at my job. So I spent most of my 20s and part of my 30s really working my ass off, and it certainly paid off. But you know what? I tell you what, if I had $1,000 today and I was 20. I would book a flight to Indonesia or Singapore or Hong Kong or somewhere, Thailand. Just, grab a passport and get on a fucking plane. Experience the world. The world has a lot of shit to show you. Especially us here in the United States. People in the United States that don't even have a passport, that have never left the United States, and most people will stay within the close geographic area of where they grew up. I know people that live in small town parts of America that, unfortunately, they're still there. After 40, 50 years, it's like there's a lot that the world has to offer outside of that. I am so grateful that I lived in New York City and Chicago. I spent a lot of time traveling back and forth to LA and San Francisco. I've done business in Miami, things like that. I just think that, and outside of the U.S., I've traveled in Europe and in the Middle East. And, my hope for 2019 is to spend some time in Southeast Asia with some of my friends in Singapore and in Jakarta. But look, golly day, life is just too fucking short. Yes, you need to save. Yes, you're going to need the money later in life when, you're unemployable, and you better hope you have enough money to live on. And I got that. But you know what? Not experiencing life and not really enjoying your 20s or 30s is a catastrophe. Don't ever get to the end of your life and go, wow, I really wish I had done more to have fun. You only get one shot, at least as far as we believe. I happen to believe in reincarnation, so hopefully the next life will be even better. But the reality for me is that I just can't believe, that people will go through their entire lives working their ass off for all the money and then have really nothing to show for it except regret. And my goal is to get to the end of my life broke as fuck, and glad that I spent every dime of it on enjoying my life. And, I know that may be a very unpopular solution, but right now, that's the kind of thing that most people don't really fully understand. I think millennials will probably be more focused on enjoying themselves, and that's fine, and let's hope so. But you know what? If you're in your 20s and you got $1,000, I would just hop a plane, buy a round trip ticket, or buy an open-ended return ticket, and go somewhere where it's inexpensive to live every day. In Jakarta, hotel rooms are like $13 a night. Great. In Bali, you can rent a place off the ocean, not in one of the resort areas, for like $30 a night. For God's sake, go spend a month in Bali, for God's sake. Enjoy what the world has to offer. That experience will mean more to you when you're 70 than the pile of money you have sitting in your bank. So anyway, I hope that nobody here takes us the wrong way. Yes, you should be responsible. Yes, you should save and invest. Yes, you need to consider what you're going to do from the time you're 60 to the time you're 90 or drop dead. But the reality is that if I had it to do all over again, and I could make one major change, I would work less and enjoy myself more, and especially in my 20s and 30s. And so that's my advice. I appreciate the opportunity. Again, live with no regrets. Even the bad experiences you have are worth something if they teach you a lesson and you learn from the experience. So, I've made lots of mistakes in my life, and a lot of those mistakes have seriously cost me money. But the lessons learned from those are well in excess of the cost of the money. And, as long as you learn those lessons along the way, it doesn't matter. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. Live life with no regrets and go out there and make a memory. Make something that you'll look back on when you're 70 and go, fuck, man, I did that. So enjoy yourselves. Thanks.